we're going to take this simple section that I created last week and I'm going to paste it in a brand new experience. We're just going to start going for it. We're going to create a new experience and we're going to create a fully responsive landing page, actually, just starting from this one section that we created last week. And this is a really simple section. Like I said, there is a text box, there is a group of buttons, and there is another text box, all within a group, all within a section. And that's where we're going to start. But by the end, we should have a bunch of different sections that are set up completely different ways. And that should show you how easy it is to adapt sections when you're creating responsive content. So honestly, a lot of the front work comes from just building your very first section. Once you have that set up, it's pretty easy to adapt and add content and remove content as needed once you have your first one set up. So that's what we're going to showcase today. I'm going to trickle in some responsive concepts that you need as you're creating responsive sections. So the reason I copied it and pasted it into a different experience altogether is because I've set up a new experience with completely different themes. We're going to make a landing page about space. That's our plan. So we're going to start with a section that is about Let's Educate, and we're going to end with a landing page that's about space. So the first thing I'm going to do is change this text here, and I'm actually going to change it to one of the colors that I've set up in the theme and style section here of Educate, and I'm going to change it to this cosmic orange. And then let's put a new heading like into the void, right? And then I'm just going to select that text box again, and I'm going to change it to my text style that I've configured, which is my heading 1 text style. So if you come here, you can see that I've got my heading 1 completely set up with my fonts, my sizing across my different responsive variants and whatnot, and we're good to go. So I can easily just set that up. I'm going to then select the product buttons group here. I'm just going to take a single button out, and I'm going to delete the other two. And then I'm going to delete this because I'm just adapting it, and you don't need to learn about Studio or Flex as you are. I deleted the wrong group. There we go. You need to learn about that when you're learning about space. And so the next thing I'm going to do is update my button. So we're going to add a text box here. We'll just use my paragraph, and we'll just draw a text box in our, let's say, explore. That feels like a good CTA for a space themed landing page, right? We're going to change this to fit content like I had mentioned. And then all I'm going to do is drag this new CTA into my Flex button. And then I'm going to delete the old CTA. Actually, I deleted the wrong one. We're going to delete the old CTA. So now I got a brand new button, right? Now let's just theme this a little bit. So we'll change this to, we'll do Space Station White. And then we will, yeah. I'm kind of making this up as I go. Let's remove our border radius altogether. Whoops. And then we'll add a theme here. I'm trying to decide if that's actually what I want to do. Yeah, it is. Okay, perfect. So then I'm going to make this whole group wider. Like I mentioned before, it is 48% of the width of the section. I want this wider so into the void is all on one line, right? So let's go ahead and change this to say 70%. And there we go. So now it's all on one line, just like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is select the section and give it a background fill. But instead of a color, I'm going to use an image. And I'm going to use this handy dandy space image. Ta-da! Now we got a space header section, just like that. And you can see that it is responsive across my 3 variants. And I didn't even have to touch my other variants because I'm just adapting a section that I had pre-configured. So there is my intro or my heading section. So I'm going to copy it and paste it. And we're going to do another one, right? So let's go ahead and remove this background fill. And let's make this one some content on the left here, and then we'll have another space image on the right here. How about that? Or should we do, yeah, let's have the content here and then a space image here. So to help us just kind of like speed this along, I'm actually going to use Flex AI, which is in beta right now. So if you want access to Flex AI, talk to your CSM and they can help you get access to Flex AI. And so what you can do here with Flex AI is a lot of things. And here's some stuff you can kind of start with: translating, renaming, fixing spelling and error, creating images, and creating text, right? So what we're going to do is use Flex AI to just create some text so we don't have to use lorem ipsum. But I'm going to change this to my heading 3 style. And I'm going to left align it just like that. And then let's have it just say draft some heading, or actually let's do draft a heading about space. Let's just keep it super simple. 6 words max. And it should just add some text here. Again, we're not worrying about lorem ipsum. I'm not worrying about the crazy quality of the text. Oh, look at that. Exploring the final frontier beyond. Perfect. Exactly what Nate had said in the chat. All right, easy. And so with that done, I'm going to close Flex AI and I'm going to just select my text box. Actually, before I do that, let me rename this so it doesn't get out of control. So this will be content section. Boom. And then we'll rename this in the layers panel, be heading group or content. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this. And then I'm going to apply my paragraph style to it. Let's change its color to void black. And then with it still selected, we'll use Flex AI to say draft 4 sentences that overview the vastness, looks like to me, of space with an educational tone. No M dashes. And so it should just add some new text here. And then I don't have to worry about coming up with something on my own. Perfect. Look at that. So I'm going to add a little paragraph break here. Right about here. So now you can see that I easily just created a new text content block without having to structure or build anything in Flex. And it is fully responsive across all my sections. So I hope you're kind of getting the idea here. That's like, if you just have one section set up, you can duplicate it and edit it and save yourself a lot of time, right? All right, so let's go and just remove that button from this section because we don't need it. And then I'm going to change its layout here to all be horizontally aligned. So everything kind of just lines up to the left side of, or horizontally lines up left side to the group. And then I'm going to change its width from 70% to 35% to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to, let's just, you know what? Let's generate an image. We'll get a space image. All right, so with Flex AI, you can easily just create an image of any kind of dimension. So how about create a 1-to-1, 1-by-1 image of a solar system that is photo realistic, as if it were shot with the, what's it called? The Hubble? What's it called? The Hubble Space Scope? Telescope? Is it actually called the Hubble Telescope? That might not be a real thing. Does anyone know? Is it Hubble? Okay, it is real. All right. So it's going to generate an image, and then I'm going to add it to this section. And it should just be a square shape. So it kind of like fits the same layout as this one that I've got going on here. So we'll give it a second. While it's doing that, I'm actually going to adjust the padding of this section. So padding adds space to all edges of something. And in this case, I have 300 pixels of padding top and bottom and 0 left and right. So I'm going to change this to just 60 by 60 by 45 by 45. So you can see my section's a lot smaller now because I'm removing that extra size that I've added. Perfect. All right, so it's created my space image. This will do. I'm not going to spend a lot of time crapping this. Obviously, as you know, as you're prompting with AI, you can spend a lot of time to get it exactly dialed into how you want. For the sake of today, we're going to speed on through, and I'm just going to close this and now go back to my layers panel, and I'm going to add this image to the content section, just like that. Boom. Now it's in my section, but it's stacked on top of the text, which I don't want. So I'm going to select the section itself and change its layout from a vertical column to a horizontal row. And I'm going to add some gap between the two elements, probably like 30, let's do way more than that. 60-ish, how about let's make this image actually a little bit smaller like that. Perfect. We can afford some more space. Let's do 75 pixels between. Easy, just like that. And then we need to adjust a few things here and there, but for the most part, that's looking pretty good. So let's go over to our tablet version. And in order to get this to not be tiny, because remember, this is currently 35% of the width of its section. And since this section is small, this is a very narrow text box. So you can apply what is called a breakpoint override, which essentially just overrides what it inherited from your base canvas. So I'm going to just change this to like 100% and see what it looks like. See, that already looks a lot better. But maybe I want the image below my text on my smaller variants. So you're not just going from like image to image, right? All you have to do is select the section. And then there's this option down here that says invert stack, and that'll just swap them just like that. So on my desktop, it's here, but on my tablet and mobile, it's here. And maybe I want this to, I actually kind of like how it's fitting. So maybe I'll leave it, but if I wanted, I could just resize this image to fit like that. Yeah, that looks good. All right, boom. So there you go. We already have 2 sections built. So let's do another one. I'm just going to copy and paste this section, and I'm going to ask it to create 4 more images. And let's actually, you know what? Let's make this section about our solar system. So I'll just have Flex AI draft a heading about, I cannot spell because my fingers are gigantic and I have a little keyboard, about our solar system. 5 words. And so it should just update this for us so we don't have to go and write any crazy content here. And then once that's set up, we'll do the same with our text box here. All right. So draft let's see, draft 6 sentences about our solar system. Use an educational tone and include no M dashes. Let's see what we produce here. And then once that's done, we'll move on to our image here. So I think what we'll do with this one is, yeah, you know what? While that's working on it, we're going to update. Yeah. So on my smaller variants, I want less padding, just slightly. So I'm going to select my tablet variant and I'm going to change my side-to-side padding to 30 pixels just to allow a little bit more space. It doesn't look quite as squished there. It's looking pretty good. All right. Okay, I've got my text here. Let's just add some paragraph breaks, maybe right there and maybe right there, just to space this out a little bit. But you can see because I have fit content, my section is automatically growing to fit the text because everything is kind of a chain reaction of fit content. The text box itself, fit content. The group of text, fit content. And the section, its size is set to fill, but it's essentially working the same way as fit content, right? So everything it's kind of a chain reaction, like I was saying, of everything growing as I add more text or line breaks. And so I'm not manually grabbing something and resizing it. That's one of the benefits of setting it up like this. All right, so now let's go ahead and ask for, can you generate, let's see, should we do 4 images? 4 images of, actually, yeah, 4 images, 1 for Earth, 1 for Mars. What else should we do? Saturn. 1 for Saturn and 1 for Neptune. All photo realistic. This should do the trick. So what we're going to do is in this section, we are going to, instead of have 1 image, we're going to have 4 different images on a grid. Oh, yeah. I guess I need to tell it that I want it 1 by 1 squares. Squares. So what we'll do is we'll get our images. I'm going to group them together, and then I'm going to assign what we call a group layout, so they kind of restack on our smaller canvases. So as it's working on that, Jupiter, sorry, forgot about Jupiter. Neptune got it. Neptune's the green one, right? Who's blue? Who's this blue one over here? Who's that? Or is that Neptune? I mean, we got 3 Mars going on here, so maybe it's not a real one. All right. But as you can see, things are like responsive without me even touching these variants or like minimally touching them. I've applied a few breakpoint overrides here and there, but I'm not manually resizing or editing things. And so I'll say it again, once you set up that first section, it's easy to just add content to your other sections and just rapidly create a responsive web page without a whole lot of thought. All right, so we've got my images just like that. Okay, perfect. So I'm actually going to make these a little bit smaller. So I'm selecting them all on the canvas, and I'm just going to resize them to be roughly about, you know what, let's just do like even. Boom. All right, so then I'll get Flex AI out of the way. I will group them together, and now you can see they're automatically in a group that is stacked as a column vertically. But I want it to be a row. And then I also want it to be in this. Let's call this. Wait, have I renamed this one? No. Okay, so we'll call this grid section. And I'll call this planet. Oop. Get out of here, Chrome wants me to restart. Planet grid. Perfect. So then I will just grab this, throw it in the group, remove this old one. Oops, I did it again. Remove this old one, and then there we go. So now we have this within our section, right? But I want the heading content on top this time, and I want this to wrap onto a new row. So with the group selected, I'm going to choose this wrap option, and then I'm going to change its width to a relative, let's say 40%. Actually, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's say, let's do 50%. There we go. So now you can see it automatically set them up in a grid, and that's because I have them set up as a row, but with wrap turned on, if an image hits this side of the group, it'll automatically wrap to a new row, and that's how you create a grid. And then I'm just going to center them within the section or within the group itself, and then that's looking real good. So let's look at this, and because I've got wrap turned on, you can see that they are just automatically restacking across my other variants without me doing anything. It's great. But maybe I want this a little bit, this is pretty narrow on my tablet variant. So I'm just going to change it from 50% to, let's say, let's do 100, see what it looks like. 100%. There we go. Looking good. All right. As you can see, this is real easy once you have that first section set up. Let's add one more section, maybe 2. Actually, let's do 2. And then we'll do some other cool stuff, and then we'll call it a day. So I'm going to duplicate this section again, and I'm going to call this facts section. And I'm going to go ahead and just remove that altogether. And then I'm going to duplicate this. So I've got 4 of these, and I'm just going to make these like quick little facts. So let's have Flex AI generate 4 interesting facts about space. 1 sentence each. Sentence each. Yeah, we'll start there and see what it does. So the idea here is I'm going to turn these giant text box into a row of little stats, like 30% of our solar system hasn't been explored. I don't know if that's real, but that's what we're going to create. We're just going to copy and paste it into these different text boxes that we've set up. But if you needed a lot of text or you're working with a lot of text, this works, right? You can see that I just have heading and body across my whole page. Like that looks like, if you didn't read it, you would think that's just a lot of text content that I've been using throughout my web page. So let's see how we do here. I didn't specify on the text boxes themselves, so it might just add them onto the canvas or in a new section, but regardless, we'll get it to work. So we'll give it a second. Any questions while we wait for a couple seconds? Is this all making sense, kind of like the flow that I'm working through here? A lot of it goes down to understanding these different responsive concepts and what you have at your disposal. A lot of it is going to be that sizing, right? And that positioning. You can see that when you're working responsively, you're not thinking about where you're going to place something on the canvas. That's what you do when you work in scale mode in Flex. With responsive, you have to think structurally. How do I want this to flow and how do I want this to be structured? You could argue that perhaps you are more limited when you're creating responsive content, but that's kind of the idea. Responsive content follows a document style layout, easier for screen readers, easier for LLMs, that type of stuff, right? So it just depends on what you're trying to create. All right, so we're still loading that. Sam, Sarah, we're good here. Okay, cool. So let's see what we create. Okay, perfect. We're getting some facts here. So let's go ahead and change this so I can actually see it. I should have selected the text boxes that I wanted them in, but this is easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this one sentence and cut it. And we're going to paste it in our first facts box like that. And then this one, we're going to change to a teaspoon. Teaspoon. I need another O in there, don't I? Okay. Remove that just like that. Okay, so you kind of see what we're doing here. You know what? Let's make this a larger heading. So I'll get Flex AI out of the way. Go to my panel here and let's make it, should we make it huge? Is that way too big? Let's do that one. That feels better. Okay, perfect. And then we'll do the same for the rest. So we'll do this one sentence right here, copy it, paste it in our body text box here. And then this one should be the footprint, print, and we'll remove that here. Get Grammarly out of my face right now. I know I can't spell. All right. Boom. So you can kind of see what we're doing, right? So I can go ahead and remove this sentence. And then I will copy this one. And I'll add it to this. Get out of here. Go away. Then we'll do space is completely silent. That might be a big one, but let's see how it looks. That looks good. Okay. And then last one. Oops, last one. Just like that. Then I can remove that altogether. Should we just do Venus is the hottest? Let's do it. It's provocative. Boom. All right, so let's make these bigger. So we'll go to my text styles, change this to a heading 2, change this one to a heading 2, because I already have these pre-configured. And then we'll change this one to a heading 2 as well. Perfect. Okay, so hot, says Kristen, right? Venus. All right. So there we go. We have our stats here, but I want to organize these a little bit differently. So I'm going to select all of them. Actually, I better rename them in the layers panel first. So we'll do fact 1, fact 2, fact 3, and fact 4. Boom. All right. So let's grab each of these. That one, that one, that one, and that one. And then let's put them in a group similar to what we did with our images up here. I'll put them in a row layout, turn on wrap, and then we will change the group's width to a relative 100%. And then with these selected, let's try something. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but let's try something. Let's change all of their widths to fill. Perfect. That's what I want. So Now they are all filling up the available space within this group. So it is equally divided across the four of them. And they're kind of in this like weird fashion. It's kind of spacey. It's kind of what I want. I wonder if these should be smaller. Let's look at what we. Yeah, that allows a little more breathing room. Let's do that. I'm going to change these all back to heading threes, even though I had them at heading twos. Yeah, that's cleaning it up a little bit. So what I did was I applied fill to all of their widths, right? And so they are now all filling up about 25% of the total width of the group. So I'm not manually resizing them to all be the same size. It just automatically applied. Perfect. That's what we want. Let's center them like that. Do we like them top or do we like them centered? What do you think? That's centered. That's top aligned. Top. We like top. Bottom looks real bad. All right, we'll do top aligned. Perfect. Okay. So then we just need to fix this a little bit because these are being crazy, right? So all we need to do is just override this fill sizing. And we'll just change this to a relative 50% and a relative 50% across all of them. And then we'll just adjust as needed from there. So they're now taking up 50% total, but they're still a little big. So maybe we should, maybe I want two on a row. So let's try 40%, 45%. There we go. That looks good. Yeah, there we go. And then for this one, obviously we don't want them to take 50% of a tiny screen. So we will select them all and we will change it to be, let's just do 100. There you go. And then I want to increase the gap between these because that looks a little messy, right? Like you don't know which text is associated with which header. So I'm going to select the text box or the group of text boxes. I'm going to change its gap from 20, let's say 50. So that should spread them out a little bit more. So it looks a little better like that. Perfect. All right, we're looking good. You know what? Let's add a background fill this one. So let's change our header color to frontier blue like that. Do it for all of our headings. Oops. I selected the wrong thing. Frontier blue and frontier blue. And then the last one we'll also do, you guessed it, frontier blue. And then we should probably change this to our white because we're going to change the background color of our, probably a lot easier just do this in the layers panel, but I'm fully committed now. I am really liking our cosmic orange. So I think the section might be, that's going to look crazy if it's cosmic orange, actually. So let's make it void black. There we go. That's what we like. You know what? Let's invert this stack. There we go. Okay. Look at that. You want to try the orange? All right, let's try the orange. It's going to look crazy. Cosmic orange. There you go. It doesn't look that crazy. It doesn't look that crazy. Like we could even just change this to galactic purple and then we're real Halloweeny. All right. We're doing it. Galactic purple. There you go. Okay. We got our facts. We're going to do one more section. Yeah, we're going to do one more section and we're going to do one other cool thing and then we're going to see how we all look responsively. So for our last section, yeah, I'm going to start with this one actually. So I'll take this section right here and I'll copy and paste it. And then because my sections stack, right, I can just grab it in the layers panel and move it to the bottom of the stack. And then I don't have to touch anything else. So that's a super handy little tip too. Video section. Okay. So for this one, we're going to delete this. We're also going to delete this. And with this selected, this should be a draft, a quick heading about the never-endingness. That's not a word. Never-ending vastness. I already used vastness once. We'll do it again. Vastness of space. And then we're going to embed a video on our last section. Is it possible to align the desktop in the current section? What do you mean align the desktop? Oh, I see. Okay. Align the row so that it appears to be within the section above it. Like currently, tablespoons is beyond the left side of the paragraph. Oh, you mean like right here? Yeah. So if we wanted to do that, we would just select that section and we would add some extra padding here. So let's say if I changed it to like, this is going to like screw everything up, and that's fine. Let's change it to 100. Nope, that's the wrong one. So you select the section itself, and then you add the padding. Oh, it's okay. I understand why. So if I change this to, let's say, like 75%, and then I could squeeze it in. That's too small. So let's do 80. No, even more. 90. So there you go. Then you're lined up. That's what we're trying to do, right? Is that what you're asking? Okay, cool. Ta-da! But the other way to do it would be to add padding to the section itself, like I was doing. But either way works. So you could do what I just did, which was change the total width of this, which was set at 100%, but I changed it down to 90% of this orange section. Or you could add padding to the section itself to squeeze it in. So either way, there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. Yes, you could. Yeah, you could also put padding across the whole canvas. So like if I selected the canvas and I wanted, let's say I wanted a border around everything. So instead of being like a full width image here, you select this, the whole canvas, and let's just put 60 pixels of padding around everything. Now I have a border, right? So you can even reduce that to like 30. That looks a little more reasonable. And then I select my image and I could just round its corners. And so now that looks kind of like a floating heading section, right? Same here. So you can apply padding. Thanks, Brent, for pointing that out. You can apply padding to pretty much every sort of container. So if I wanted it to look like that, which arguably might look better. I don't know. But we'll just keep moving on for the sake of time. All right. Last section we'll make is this. Let's change this to 100%. And then we will select a text box within it. And then we'll do that. And then I'm going to go to my embed tool and I'm going to draw an embed frame in that section. You can see my section automatically resized. I want this to be 16 by 9. So I'm going to change this to 1280 pixels wide and 720 pixels tall. And we're going to lock it. But because it is a fixed size, that's way too big for my smaller variants. So a simple fix is have that dimension locked, but then just change this to relative, right? So I could even change this to 100%, but it keeps my locked aspect ratio. And since it's 100%, it now is 100% on all of my variants. So a really simple way to do that, right? All right, let's go ahead and move my heading to the top. And then I happen to have a space video ready to go. I'm going to grab its embed code. And then, wrong one, with my embed frame here, I'm just going to slap it in there. Ta-da! There we go. And you can see it just resizes. It fits. Perfect. All right. That is how you can easily create a landing page with one section built when you're creating responsive designs. We went real far let's preview it. There's one thing I'm realizing now, right before I preview it, I'm just calling it out now because I'm realizing it. I have this type in animation applied. And so that means because I copied and paste, it's applied to all of them. So everything's going to type in, but that's fine. Ta-da! Into the void. And we're responsive. Look at that. We scroll down. Things are going to type in again. It actually kind of looks cool to type in, right? It kind of fits like the, yeah. Exactly what Adrian said. Then we got our video here. Everything just reflows. Look at that. Look at that. Pretty slick. Very spacey. Nice. But the thing that I've driven home a couple times, and I will do one more time, is when you're creating responsive content, focus on one really, really good section. Get the layout, get the structure in place, copy it, paste it, and adapt it as needed. The structure will carry over. And so you can see I wasn't configuring that much with any of these. I was tuning, right? Like I changed this to 35% wide rather than whatever it was. And then on my variants, I obviously had to like tune those as well. But like if I wanted to come here and change this to like a relative and I wanted it full width, boom. That's a big image now, right? Easy. But I wasn't having to configure every single section on its own. I was able to just adapt them. And that's how you scale your responsive content. So don't think when you're creating responsive pages in Flex, don't think about it as a full page. Think about it section by section, chunk by chunk. That's going to save you a ton of time and it's going to help you not rack your brain. And like, what if I wanted my video section next to the top? I just move it, right? They're just stackable pieces of content. Super easy. Regarding the video, is it also possible to drop in a file? Yes, you can. I just didn't do that for the sake of time. You can use your media tool. You can upload a file, and then you can control the auto looping, all that type of stuff, Beth. But I just grabbed one real quick just to embed. The last thing I'm going to do is something super fun. I'm going to grab my grid here, and then in Flex AI, I'm going to say, can you turn this into a carousel of, let's just say a carousel, and keep the 1-to-1 ratio of aspect ratio, aspect ratio of images. Include cycle icons and interactions. So hopefully what we're trying to do is take this grid of images and just turn it into a carousel without having to like set up anything. That's one of the really fun things about Flex AI is it can just speed up a lot of that stuff, right? I even think back to like Studio and how big of a pain in the ass it was to set up interactions in Studio sometimes because you're just filing through menus to find the right layers and hiding some and showing some and all that type of stuff. There's still obviously a lot of that possible what that you'll need to do as you're working with Flex, but Flex AI can bridge a lot of that too and create the interactions that you actually want. There's a lot of really cool stuff that Flex AI can do. So as you are building and you want to get access to it, talk to your CSM. All right, so it's working on that, but any other questions as we're building that? Pretty straightforward what we're trying to do here. Who likes galactic or cosmic orange? That is quite literally my favorite color in the entire world. And that's why I picked it. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Nate. All right. While that's working, I'll just point out that we have a follow-up webinar next week where we will create responsive tiles. If you look at this experience, remember these? Remember these bad boys? I'll show you how I made these. And as you might have guessed, it's a lot of responsive configuration using fit content height. So these will automatically grow using whatever kind of width that you need, using a group layout. So they restack, right, across your variants. Okay. So thank you, Flex AI. You have created You have created my carousel. Let's see it in action. My typewriter that Adrian liked. And there you go. So I didn't even have to configure anything, right? It just did it. It's showing and hiding all of my, obviously I'd want to change this to be black so you can see it on the white, but that's how you can easily create a carousel without doing a single thing. Save you a lot of time. You think carousels are easy? Flex AI is capable of doing a lot to save you tons of time when you're setting up interactions. The whole idea, in my eyes anyway, is you are the creative expert. You're the one in control of the content layout, how you want it to look, and the experience behind your experience. Flex AI helps kind of bridge that gap and speed up the process. So you don't have to go and do all this manual configuring, and this shows that and that hides that, anything like that. You just have it in here and Flex AI just does the trick. So cool. That sums it up for us. There we go. Not everything in Flex has to be responsive. You can use it in scale mode and you can just use it as a freeform canvas and put stuff where you want. But if you want to create responsive content, think in the vision of structure. You're using a structure that is responsive. Create one solid section, duplicate it, and adapt it for whatever you need. You can end up with a really cool landing page like I've created here.